So, like I need any more problems, but the Bolens 850 here has decided to just stop working on me, and I'm having some transmission problems with it right now. So we're going to have to take the cover off here to get access to the top of the transaxle back there, to take a look at it, see what the problem is. So we're gonna have to start dismantling all of this. But the first thing that's gonna have to go is we're gonna have to pull the deck off right here, so we can get access underneath it as well to check out everything underneath to see what's going on with it. So I'm going to have to pull the deck off first, and then check it out from there and see what's going on with it, if we can figure out what the problem is. What it seems to be doing though is, I mean, right now it's in neutral. The biggest problem is that this cover is really loose here, as you can see. I've tried tightening up the bolts on this, but they keep loosening up, so I'm going to get some new bolts for that with some lock nuts to try to hold that in place more. So I don't know if that's part of the problem, is that, but it seems to be in neutral right now. I mean, it shifts through the gears alright. Well, except for now it doesn't want to go in the third, but it is in second. There. So that's like neutral. That's reverse. That's first, but it doesn't seem to really do much of anything. So we're gonna have to check that out and see what it is. It seems to be stuck in first gear right now, though. The other thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to pull the spark plug cable off here, so I won't actually run the engine, but so that I can crank it over and demonstrate what it's doing here. So if I turn it a little bit with the clutch out, see how it tries to move forward in first, and it's supposed to be in neutral here, so something's not right with it. Won't go in reverse, it's stuck in first, and if I try putting it in second or third, it doesn't do anything. So I think one of the shift rods that's in it is not good on it, or something like that. So we're gonna have to check it out, see what the problem is. I did get the little mounting bracket here mounted for the track vac, so it'll just slide right on there. So we do have that taken care of, but that's a whole other issue right now. But in any event, we're going to start taking this thing apart. Oh, the other quick thing I did notice here too, Bruce Dorsey told me about this, because it has a spring assist here for bringing the deck up and down, and there's a little hole in it here, and there we go. See, there's a little hole right there, and you put a little pin through there, like we can actually steal this pin or something, pull that out there, but you put a pin through there and it holds this lever up, so it's easier to take the deck off and on. So as you see, there's a little hole right here, and you can take and put a little cotter pin in right there to help hold this up against the spring here to make the deck easier to take off. So next thing we're going to do is pull the deck off. Now I've got the deck off, we're going to take a look underneath and take a look at what's happening with those shifting levers there, to see if we can find out what the problem is. Can you see? There's a little shifting lever right there. You can see it. Now over on this side, oh, that should be first gear right there. That's reverse, which I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's like actually hitting, or maybe it's not. Alright, that's reverse. That's first. Actually, there we go. See, now it's like hitting. See there how it's hitting the shift lever right there? So something's not right with that pin, because that's sliding all the way out and hitting that, which it's not supposed to be doing. But that's actually the third one, I think, which is rather odd. but it should be neutral right here. We're going to take a look at it here then, because it's obvious when you crank the thing. See, it's inching forward here, so something's not quite right. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to take all these little bolts off here. We're going to take this seat pan and everything off, take all this apart, and get access underneath this cover here so we can see what's going on inside the transaxle. So that's our next step right there. Now I've taken the seat off of the 850 already, which was right here, and we've loosened up all the bolts all the way along. We took the shift mechanism out and we loosened this up underneath where it attaches to the brake housing, so they'll just come out. We've loosened up a screw right there on each side, which as far as I can tell is about the only thing that holds this entire upper housing here onto anything. But the problem is that with this little shifter thing here, and for the PTO right there, this is preventing me from lifting this up far enough to clear that. And I really don't feel like taking that all apart because I'm not sure exactly how it goes together under there. So I think what I'm going to have to do is take all these bolts off over here. If I take these two bolts off there, it'll loosen up this plate, which the coil is mounted to. I'm going to have to take the battery out. We're going to have to loosen these bolts to take this part off, and then just like flip this over on top of the engine, and then hopefully we can lift this piece up enough so that we can lift that whole access plate off so we can get at the transaxle under there. So it's a little more involved than I was hoping for, but hopefully we'll get at this thing yet. But that's our next step, what we're gonna have to do with it. This program is brought to you in part by Sprite. Sprite, do it up right when you're working on your Bolens tractor. Sprite, be yourself working on a Bolens tractor. So we've gotten this off, and we still have this housing left here. We've taken the bolts off down here that mounted the battery hold down. We've taken the battery out. This is the high-low range knob right there where it goes in. Now that goes through, and you see the rod right there as it comes through. Now here's the trick to it. Right here there's a little nut at the end of it. If we can take that nut off, we can slip that rod out of where that is so it'll be able to come up with the rest of this housing when we go to remove it. And then we just have a couple of bolts right there to take off on each side, and this whole piece should come right up. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, now that we have all the bolts unscrewed here, this is loose here, everything should be all set, so we can just pick this thing up and get it out of here somehow. Very tricky. Than it looks, but I think there we go. Now we got it out. There we go. Now we should be able to lift this thing right up here and gain access to the cover under there. So now with all the cowling removed around here, it should be nice and easy to just pick up our access plate here and take a look at our transmission. Alright, so here's the transaxle on the Bolens 850, and it does have me a little worried here. As you can see down inside here, there's some oil in there, some like gear oil, but it doesn't look very full, as you can see. I know the fill plug is only right here, so I don't know if just the lower area here itself is the only part that's supposed to have oil in it, and the rest of this is just all open. I'm not sure. Maybe that's why it's such a pain to shift here and stuff like that if it's not properly oiled. You can see this is the output worm gear here where it drives, and these are the gears up in here. As you can see, some of the gears, the teeth are worn off on the edges right here from slamming it in the gear and stuff like that. I'm sure it's not just from me doing it once or twice by accident. I think somebody was slamming the gears around on this thing a lot. Probably a previous owner did it. So that's not a good thing. You can see right in here. I'll give you a better close-up. But here's the biggest problem right here is this. As you can see, there's supposed to be a shift fork on that, much like this one over here. You can slide these things forward. That's where the gears engage back and forth, but it just slides these gears in and out there to activate them. This is the main drive shaft here that comes in, so these are the main driven gears, and depending on where you move the gears from there decides what gear ratio you're in. Wow, this does not want to go in the neutral. There we go. So that's supposed to be neutral, but as you can see, this one just kind of flops around and doesn't move anything because it's broken. So that's the problem with that one. That and the fact that it doesn't seem to ride very smoothly in there. It's like really stiff to move it around. Whatever. But yeah, that shift fork is definitely broken right off there. So we're gonna need a new one. And honestly, I'm not very sure about these gears in here either and how they look. Alright, so let's see if I can reach in here and disengage this gear with a screwdriver. There we go. Well, now at least it should be in neutral, so the gears can at least spin. Alright, so that's just spinning nice and loose there. Well, it looks like it does pick up a little bit of grease from down there and spin it up inside there when it's moving, but I just don't like the look of that grease either. And I just put fresh grease in there, but it looks awfully watery, like it was leaking water inside there and stuff. You should probably change that entirely when you get a chance. But in any event, now that should slide this gear back. Which is actually running it off of that bottom roller gear there, so that should be, so that's first. It wasn't first, and that goes to reverse. This is the first reverse one, this is the second and third one, which is the opposite from the top side, obviously, because that's how the shifter works. So that's that. Let me give you a little more close-up view so you can see what's going on here with all these gears and stuff. That has me really worried. Alright, so the first major problem I see is with first gear. And if you look down inside here at the first gear, see how worn that gear is? The front face of all those teeth in there on the gear are worn right down to nothing, which has me really worried. As you can see right here, that's the shifter fork right there that sheared right off, and there's the other piece. It's stuck down in there right here. But yeah, that sheared right off at the, didn't even break the weld. That's the funny part. It just sheared the metal right off. The weld is still intact. I'll have to pull that roll pin out right there to get that shaft off so we can get at it. This is one of the main drive gears right here. Wow, look at that. You see how wobbly that is? I don't know if you can see that or not, but then again, maybe it does, but there's a lot of play in that gear. There's less play in this one, it looks like, but there's still a little bit. But the face of this tooth here as well, you can see that where it's all chewed up right there as well. It's chewed up there, it's chewed up there. That's the reverse roller down there, which isn't too bad, I don't think. The rest of these aren't too bad. That one right there, the teeth are a little mangled too. I mean, they're not straight cut, they are cut at a little bit of an angle to make it easier to slide in and out of gear. Like you can tell, this one, you see how they're cut like that, at a little bit of a taper. Not too bad, but all the faces are supposed to be tapered, not chewed up to hell like that one. But that's what we're looking at. There's the worm gear right there where it drives. And again, like I said, that oil looks to me very milky looking, like it's got a lot of water in it. And I'm not really sure that it really has enough gear oil in it in the first place, you know. But that's basically what I'm looking at, which isn't very good, if I do say so myself. And I have no idea where I'm gonna get a gasket for this, unless you don't need to put a gasket on it and just pull this up and throw some RTV around it to seal it back up, you know. But yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at. Not looking too good. Not sure if you can actually rebuild this gearbox or if I'll have to just get another one. Because I am kind of worried about how those gears are in there, and if they're ground up that bad now from years of abuse that it made it that hard to shift and it broke that lever off. It kind of has me really worried that even if I buy another shift fork here to replace it, that it's not just going to break in the future again, because those gears are worn pretty badly. So I'll have to look at it. And again, not sure if there's supposed to be a lot more oil in that rear end or not. Does look kind of low to me. Although you can see the oil level there. That's the oil fill plug right there. I guess it's not supposed to be filled up all the way up here. That's the fill plug right there, which it's roughly about equal to that, almost, I'd say. Kind of hard to tell from the angle we're at. The only other thing, and this is a complete aside, but I don't know if there's a longer one of these I can get or not. Looks like it just bolts on. I could probably have one made, but see how far in that's tucked compared to the wheels. And when I'm towing a trailer, like the track vac, since the pivot point is in so far, you make a sharp turn and the trailer runs around here and bam, starts rubbing against the tire, and I don't like that. It kind of cuts down on your turning radius. So if I could make this longer so it sticks out about here, out past the tires a little bit, then when I hitch up to something and I turn, I can make a sharper turn with it without rubbing the wheels. So that would be nice if there was a longer piece I could put on there as well. Just thinking. But that's where we're at with it. So we've got the thing pretty stripped apart right now. There's not much body work left on it really, if at all. There's nothing. It's just the frame itself, the steering wheel, and the engine sticking out. But looks like if we had to, you just take these 4 off, 2 on each side, and that bolts this whole transaxle in there. So if we need to take the whole thing off to swap it out, bam, 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 drop the whole thing out and replace it. Of course, you'd have to take some of the stuff off down here too, the brakes, this drive coupling here for the drive shaft, you know, a couple other things, but that's about it. So that's what we're looking at. At bare minimum, I need another shift fork, and at worst, I need a whole new transaxle. So that's what I'm looking at right now, unfortunately.